The Jacksonville Jaguars are a good team. That might sound like a very weird thing to say as they sit at 2-4, 1-2 in the AFC South, but the Jaguars are a good team at finding new ways to lose football games. Week 1, they just came out of sleep and then they couldn't recover. Week 4 against the Eagles, Trevor Lawrence has 5 turnovers. Week 5 against the Texans, Shad Khan's money could not have bought that team a touchdown in that game. And then this week against the Indianapolis Colts, the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, and the Colts basically did whatever they wanted to do in the second half of this game. The Jaguars offense had the incredible fourth quarter drive at 18 plays, 10 minutes, ends in a touchdown, takes the lead, puts the Jaguars in a great position to win the football game. But then ultimately, the Indianapolis Colts have the great fourth quarter game-winning drive with the amazing throw to Alec Pierce, who honestly was being covered by the guy the Colts were picking on the entire game, it seemed like. Shaq Griffin had 13 targets, and he allowed 8 catches for a bazillion yards and the game-winning score. Now, that's not the only guy. It really did seem like they were kind of picking on a little bit. They also did seem like they were really attacking these Jaguar interior linebackers. Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd had a bad day in coverage. That is saying it as nicely as I can, because Devin Lloyd was absolutely picked on. He allowed all 13 of his targets for 125 yards. And then you look at Foye, he is just as bad. You're talking about a guy that allowed all 5 of his targets for 60 yards. So just a very, very bad day. Almost 200 yards through the air on just the 2 linebackers alone. They were crossing routing the Jaguars defense to death. It just seemed like every play there was somebody going through the middle of the field and he was having a good reception. I'm a Michael Pittman fantasy owner. I was happy that he was doing it, but at the same time, my God, was it infuriating to watch that happen on the field. Ultimately, the Jaguars offense did what they needed to do, and they had a game worthy of winning this game. Trevor Lawrence had the game-winning drive that people have been clamoring for all season long. It just seems like, okay, he had a good game, but we've yet to see the fourth quarter game-winning drive. Okay, we've yet to see this. Well, he had 2 third-and-long passes for first downs. Honestly, if you wanted to look at a game in Trevor Lawrence's young career that he had arguably his best game, this might be it. He did exactly what he was asked for. He played well within the game plan. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 2 on the ground, 1 through the air, and ultimately just played very, very well. He did what he was asked to do, and that is what you can ask your quarterback to do. He didn't cost us the game, but he was if we had won the game, he would have been one of the reasons we won the game. He did exactly what he needed to do. But if I had to pinpoint one big reason why the Jaguars offense was as successful as it was, to why Trevor Lawrence was able to have a 2 incompletion day, 20 of 22, but hey, that's another story for another day. If I had to pinpoint one reason why this Jaguars offense was as successful as it was, why Trevor Lawrence had the day he was able to have, it would be because of the running game. This Jaguars running attack was incredible. You're talking about Travis Etienne having his 10 carries, James Robinson having 12, but then both of them just being very, very productive on the ground. James Robinson had a very standard day for himself on the ground, averaging 4.5 yards a carry on his 12 touches. And then also Travis Etienne, once again, are we kind of seeing an emergence in Travis Etienne? Last week he was averaging 7-something yards per carry. This week he's averaging 8.6. He had the very long 48-yard run, which, man, that would have been incredible if he could have house called that one, but unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes DV had a great angle on him. But then, hey, let's talk about JaMycal Hasty for a second. Where'd this guy come from? This guy has been an incredible asset for this Jaguars running back room to have, just as kind of the third back. Not as a change of pace back, because, Etienne and Hasty kind of have the similar speed, but Hasty definitely seemed like a bat out of hell, and no one was going to be able to catch him on that touchdown run. Ultimately, you're looking at 3 guys that have very good claims to, want more touches. Hasty had the great run. James Robinson was the incumbent, and then Travis Etienne has averaged over 7 yards a rush on 20-plus carries in the last 2 weeks. So you're looking at 3 guys that are very good, but then you have Snoop Connor. When is that drum going to kind of start getting beat of, was this a wasted draft pick? What is going on? He hasn't been active for any games yet, and, he's a 5th-round back. Is he just the insurance policy for when James Robinson, if he doesn't play next year in a Jaguars uniform because he isn't a contract year? What is going on with Snoop Connor? And, it's just a weird thing to see. Hey, a 5th-round guy is not on the field. He's not active. He's not contributing in any manner. But let's talk about these wide receivers that Trevor Lawrence was throwing to. Talking about Zay Jones, a guy that is very quietly leading the Jaguars in receptions. That's just kind of mind-blowing to me thinking about it. They're kind of the regression that we've seen from Christian Kirk, not only in targets, but overall production. But Evan Ingram had himself another very good quiet day. 5 catches on 6 targets. Christian Kirk, once again, kind of just like slumming it a little bit. I don't know if it's because he's not getting open. I don't know if it's because Trevor Lawrence just isn't throwing him the ball. I don't know what it is. It's a defensive scheming to stop him. But once again, just a very low target day for Christian Kirk. 5 total targets. He did have the touchdown. So that was, a fantasy saving day. It was a good stat buffing day for the fact that he does have that additional touchdown now. But overall, he's just kind of being a very quiet performer on this Jaguars team, doing okay. 4 or 5 catches, 50 yards, 50, 60 yards, just very low days. I'm waiting to see what we saw in the first 3 weeks where he was getting, 12 targets, 9 targets, and he was having a very big role in this Jaguars offense. I'm very excited to see that hopefully make an emergence back against the New York Giants. Now, for this offensive line, if you'd have told me it would have been an offensive line that gave up 4 sacks, but then also would give up 240 yards on the ground, you're talking about an offensive line that was making Mack truck-sized holes in the running game. Jermichael Hasty was running through him. Travis Etienne was hitting him. And then to have Trevor Lawrence get brought down 4 different times, it's just a very, very weird thing for this Jaguars team to have. Now for this Jaguars pass rush, they had 20 total pressures in the game. They had 14 quarterback hurries and 6 quarterback hits. And it was just a very strange day for this Jaguars pass rush as a whole. They were hitting Matt Ryan. Josh Allen was laying the boom on Matt Ryan several times through this game. They just could not get to him before he let go of the ball. It seemed like that was one of the things this Colts offense wanted to do, and that was get the ball out of Matt Ryan's hand as fast as humanly possible because they knew Josh Allen was coming. And once again, Trayvon Walker, yes, he's having impacts in this game, in the games. He's making impactful plays, but he's not getting after the quarterback the way we want him to. He has more roughing the passer penalties than he does sacks, and that is definitely something that is going to start creeping up in the national media because he was the number 1 overall pick. He was an outside linebacker in a 3-4, and that is his job. His job at the beginning of the day is a pass rusher. Nobody talks about how great Von Miller is as a coverage guy. No, he's an outside linebacker. He goes and gets the quarterback. All of these great 3-4 linebackers are known for going after the quarterback, and that is what an outside linebacker in a 3-4 should be doing, is going after the quarterback. But here we are with the number 1 overall pick with 1 sack in 6 games. Yes, he's been making impactful plays outside of it, but at the end of the day, he was drafted to be a pass rusher. We needed pass rush help. That was what he was brought here to do. Now, this Jaguars front 7 was very, very stout against the run, but when Matt Ryan's throwing the ball 58 times and that's what's working, of course they're going to abandon the run. As a whole, they went 16 for 45 on the ground with the 1 score, and they were just picked apart in the short game. I really don't want to give much, if any, credit to the way this Jaguars defense played because the Jaguars defense is very clearly the reason they lost this game. Michael Pittman tore him up through the middle. Jackson, their running back, tore him up in the passing game as well. Caught all 10 of his targets. He had a 100-yard all-purpose day. It was just a very long day for this Jaguars defense, and it didn't seem like they were going to be able to stop anything. And it seemed like once the Jaguars left time on the clock after they scored their touchdown, it was a fingers crossed. But I'm not expecting them to be able to stop them after they haven't been able to stop them all second half. You're talking about the Jaguars just absolutely being outscored in the final 3 quarters. And it was just a very, very bad day for this Jaguars defense. And, we're on to New York. That is the bright side. Vegas likes us. All the analytics likes us. But, the eye test has a 2-4 team playing a 5-1 team at home. And that's just a very, very strange thing to me to see that the Jaguars are favored. But, hey, it's on to Week 7. The bye week is coming up here very shortly. So be able to get a nice little reset before we just go through the gauntlet that is coming up of elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and go Jaguars.
Yeah, I just work here.